Render is our favorite AI altcoin on the channel, and we started covering this altcoin last year. It has been a very impressive performer within that time period. In fact, if we take a look at this altcoin's performance from the beginning of 2023, this altcoin is up about 2,800% from its bear market lows. And in today's episode of the Everything Crypto Show, I'm going to break down why I believe this altcoin could see a huge rally in just a couple of hours. Now, before we hop into the content, just a friendly reminder that I am not a financial advisor. I am simply here for your crypto news and entertainment purposes. And if you do enjoy the content, please consider hitting that sub and like button and turn that notification bell on so you can be notified when all of our latest videos go live on the channel. So we're going to get right into today's altcoin of discussion, but before we do that, I actually do want to just take a minute to look generally at the altcoin market, as of course it does also relate to Render. And the reason I want to talk about this is because on Sunday we made this video. It was basically a top 3 crypto list for the rest of May. And at my number 1 spot on this list, I did put Ethereum. And you can see at the time of this video that Ether was sitting around $3,080. And this was more of a technical trade when I spoke about it. I basically said that we were bouncing off of the bull market support band here, that Ether, Bitcoin has been underperforming. And I did expect Ether to make a nice bounce here, bounce off that bull market support band and potentially start a much larger altcoin rally. Now, not even 24 hours later, we did get the news that there's a lot of renewed optimism for an ETF, and it's being priced in now that there is about a 75% chance that a spot Ethereum ETF will be approved in the near future. I think that it's going to happen at some point this year. I don't know when. But now there is a lot more increased optimism about it happening much sooner than potentially expected. Obviously, I could not have seen this coming when I made the video. This was really just based on the technicals alone. However, when you factor in the technicals as well as the fundamentals here and the fact that Ethereum could be getting a spot ETF sooner than we expect, I think it makes a lot of sense that we did see such a big move here for Ether, okay? Up about 29% over the past week. And we're talking about an altcoin with like over 440 billion in market cap. So that is not a small move, $442 billion in market cap. So for this thing to move 20%, that's a huge move. It's actually its biggest market cap gain in one day. All this to say, first of all, if you did actually hop in on that Ether trade, congratulations to you. And secondly, I do think it's very important to note that Ethereum being bullish, Ethereum looking good and showing strength versus Bitcoin does, generally mean good things for the broader altcoin market as well. If you take a look at the general market cycles, you tend to see Bitcoin outperform and then Ether, and then that money goes into altcoins, micro caps, and kind of just fickles down the crypto money tree. So we could potentially now be entering sort of like the second phase of the bull market in which Ethereum takes the lead, which does fare well for altcoins during this time period. And then after this time period, because after ETH does see majority of its move, that is when we start to see it take a backseat to the rest of the altcoin market. So I did just kind of want to, preface this video with that little discussion about Ethereum. And now we're going to talk about Render, okay? Because if you've been with the channel for a while, you know that we started covering this altcoin last year on the channel. I said that I believe it is going to be one of the biggest winners of the upcoming bull run. And out of the top 100 coins, it has been a very solid performer so far. Up about 2,800% here from the beginning of last year at 40 cents, currently sitting at just over $11. And there is also a very near-term catalyst for this altcoin, as in, coming out in a couple of hours' time. And that's going to be the NVIDIA earnings that are expected to come out today. So for a little bit of context, Render and NVIDIA are connected. We actually spoke about this right here. This was Jules Urbach basically did a He did a 1-hour presentation at the NVIDIA GTC event. This was a massive event here that we were talking about Render prior to as well. I expected it to pump leading into the event, and it definitely did. This actually, the time it ran up here to about $13, this was in and around the time of the event. I think maybe like a week after. So Render and NVIDIA are connected. Jules Erbach and the NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang go very far back, like 10 years or so, and there is video proof of that as well, of him actually speaking at previous NVIDIA GTC events. And I did think this is a big deal because, you know, NVIDIA has been pretty much like the biggest story of the stock market. Okay, it's the third biggest company in the world now. You know, rallied like 700% in the matter of 2.5 years, give or take. And yeah, all eyes have been on NVIDIA and really just them leading the AI charge. So the fact that Render spoke at this event, I did think was a big deal for big institutions who, you know, had all their eyes on what NVIDIA had to say, potentially watching Jules Erbach's presentation and seeing what the Render network has to offer. So there is a connection between NVIDIA and Render. And, you know, I think the big thing as well is if we just take a look at the performance of Render in correlation with NVIDIA. So their last earnings report was for the quarter ending January of 2024. But the actual, Jesus, look at this earnings estimates and actual EPS. That's crazy. But, yeah, the actual earnings announcement did come out on February 21st. Now, let's take a look at what the Render chart did on February 21st. So let me go ahead and take a look at the past 6 months, and then here we go. Here is February 21st. Okay, so let me actually go ahead and just get rid of that. So after NVIDIA beat its earnings on February 21st, we saw Render pump about 37% there in just a matter of a week. And then, you know, if we look out on a longer time horizon until about the end of March, Render went on a 127% run. However, this move right here that I'm talking about, this did actually come off the back of the NVIDIA beat. That was about a 35% move. So if NVIDIA does beat on its earnings again after the bell, which, I mean, they have done so far, and if they can actually do that again, and we see Render going a nice move, 23% puts us back up at prior all-time highs that came in at around $13.60. And yeah, if we can see Render kind of make a similar move, I do think that it could potentially make a retest of these all-time highs. And if it does break above those all-time highs, I think we could see a much bigger move coming for this altcoin, potentially even up to the $20 area. Now, if we take a look at how Render performed last time it broke prior cycle all-time highs, well, here we have the 2021 peak at $8.80. And you can basically see here that after this thing broke 880, it went on to rally about another 54%. Generally speaking, altcoins that are breaking all-time highs does tend to be bullish as you are effectively in a price discovery mode. And I do think that is what happened with Render here. So if we can actually see it show some strength and yet again get above the all-time highs over here, I do think that would fare very well for this altcoin. Now, sort of on a fundamental side of things, I know that a lot of it is narrative-based, but I think the reason that Render does rally in correlation with NVIDIA is because when NVIDIA reports strong numbers, it reflects massive demand for GPU power, for GPU compute, and that is exactly what the Render network offers as the first decentralized GPU rendering platform according to the website. Basically, it is a blockchain marketplace for this idle GPU compute. You are able to contribute your idle GPU power to the Render network. People can tap into the Render network for a ton of different use cases, including 3D content creation, computational tasks from basic rendering to artificial intelligence. And yeah, then you're paid out in Render tokens. So the fact that they did kind of make this switch into AI as well for their GPU power shows that they're taking AI seriously. And yeah, when NVIDIA reports strong numbers, I think it just generally reflects like strong demand for GPUs, which is basically the entire infrastructure of the render network. So it does make sense. I think that a lot more of it is narrative based, but you can make the argument for an actual fundamental reason for render to move in correlation with NVIDIA, especially off the back of earnings, which are basically all riding on GPU demand, right? And the second thing I do want to talk about is actually the Apple WWDC event. Now, this is a little bit further out. This is not going to be until June 5th of 2023, so it's about 2 weeks out. However, they are teasing some kind of like AI announcements for this upcoming event. I think that Apple as a company is really looking to get ahead of the AI stuff, as their stock has or was lagging the rest of the market. I believe it still is, although it has been going up recently. But Apple definitely does want to get into the AI space. And last time there was the Apple WWDC DC event, we saw render rallying because a lot of people were suspecting that the render network was going to be compatible with the Apple Vision Pro, and that did in fact end up being the case. So I do think that, if we get strong NVIDIA earnings and then the upcoming Apple WWDC event hype, I do think that these next couple of weeks could be very interesting for this altcoin. Now, I do want to point your attention to the Bitcoin pair as well to kind of wrap things up. And the main thing I want to point out here is the fact that Render is one of the few altcoins in the top 100 that has been outperforming Bitcoin since January of 2023 by about 584%. Now we can see that it put in its prior cycle all-time highs here. Now we can see that it broke above it, came back down below, bounced off the bull market support band, and is once again back up here above its prior cycle all-time highs. So this chart actually looks very similar to its USD chart for the most part. Okay, break above all-time highs, break down below, bounce off the bull market support band, bounce back above. So to me, when I see an altcoin looking bullish, not only on its USD pair, but also on its Bitcoin pair, that is just kind of like another point of confluence that does give me a little bit more confidence in the trade, and just shows me that this is looking strong on many different indicators. So that is why this altcoin continues to be my favorite AI altcoin, and I do think that it will continue to be one of the best performers here from the mega caps for the duration of the bull run. So on that note, I hope you did enjoy the content in today's video. I hope you are all staying happy, safe, and healthy, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Peace out for now.